Hello everyone, welcome back to Izzy Sandpit TV. Thank you very much for joining me after my short mid-season break. Today I have got Barry Hyde, the lead singer and guitarist of the Futureheads. We had a chat about all sorts. We had a chat with the rough time that they had leaving their record label. We had a chat about what he's currently doing with his new university course and his pub, the Peacock, up in the northeast. And we all talk about what his favourite food is. I hope you enjoy the chat and I'll see you soon.
This is a brand new problem, a problem without any clues. If you know the clue.
Izzy Sandpit TV, YouTube channel and podcast. Today I've got one of my favourite bands of all time, the lead singer and guitarist Barry Hyde from the Futureheads. Hi Barry.
Dan, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm all right.
Excellent.
Spring has sprung.
Spring has sprung.
Life gets a bit easier, I think, when there's a bit of warmth on the face.
There's a reason I live in Dubai. Is sunnier permanently. That one day that you want it to rain.
Permanently and dangerously.
Yes. It's funny because I went for a walk at lunchtime and it was about 33 degrees, and I was wearing a very similar outfit to this, and it was absolutely roasting. So yeah. So how are you doing? The Futureheads, what's going on with you guys?
Well, the Futureheads still exists. We obviously split up actually for a few years, got back together, made a new album, and did quite a lot of gigs, and we're kind of enjoying that. And then there was a global pandemic, which essentially meant that it meant that it was basically pretty much illegal to be a professional musician.
Yes.
And that was very strange. I mean, touch wood. None of us were terribly personally affected by this, this global pandemic. With regards to losing loved ones, and I think we've all had it.
Yeah.
But in terms of like finding ourselves, where we had to kind of wrap it up for a bit. And I thought, when the first lockdown happened, Dan, I thought, I'm going to write at least 5 albums during this lockdown. And I didn't even write 5 words. I was so uninspired to play, because what you're playing for, I thought I'm going to learn loads of classical piano and I'm going to come out like a virtuoso, and it just didn't happen. I just kind of got quite sunburnt and chubby.
Yeah, I got chubby, and I'm still chubby from it. I think I'm still recovering.
So am I, mate. So am I.
Killing me off.
But I don't mind.
No, absolutely. So we'll go back to the start. Futurehead started in 2000. You released your self-titled album in 2004. How did you guys actually start? How did the Futureheads come to be the Futureheads?
Well, I was really lucky, and we were all really lucky to have been born when we were born in the kind of the early to mid 80s. Yeah. So it meant that by the time we came to, mid teenage years and got into music, there was this amazing thing called Britpop happening.
Yeah.
So you had the likes of, Blur and Oasis and Supergrass and Manson and Radiohead. And then on the other side of the Atlantic, you had grunge music. Yeah. And it was like, actually thinking back and also looking into it a bit, that between 1991 and 2008, there was an extended period of global prosperity due to the lack of wars, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
And basically, that when you have to come to age, come of age during a period when it was so vibrant, it was very lucky. So we met at a youth project that was geared around basically rock and roll music, indie music, and heavy metal. And it was run by a guy called Dave Murray. And we were all, mid-teens going down there to be part of the youth project. Yeah. And that's how we met. Well, the drummer, my brother wasn't actually the original drummer, but, we were learning how to play in this youth project, and we became pals. And it wasn't so much we wanted to make music together, but it was more we wanted to go out dancing, nightclubs together, and going to like the student nights and dancing to Joy Division and the Stones and just hanging out, really.
Yeah, having a good time.
Hanging out and thinking we could drink wine, watching Withnell and I, and listening to a bit of jazz music, being essentially, Sunderland bohemians. And then eventually we decided to make it official. And I went backpacking around Europe.
Right.
And I don't know if you can still do this, probably not as easily, but I remember buying a ticket for something like £200. And it meant you could get on any train in Europe for an entire month.
Wow.
Right. And it was called Interrailing. And I did it, and while I was already a musician. And while I was away, I just fell in love with traveling. I was like, wow, traveling. And I just thought, imagine if I could go home at the end of this month and form a band that was actually good enough to allow me to travel again. But I wouldn't have to buy a ticket.
No.
And I came home and I'd already soundproofed my mum and dad's garage, because I used to work in a call centre and I used to get paid quite a bit of money. So I bought loads of gear, bought loads of acoustic insulation, we soundproofed the garage. And I just started this band with it was just me and my friend Jaff, whose real name's David Craig. He has the same birthday as Craig David. Which is
that's an amazing fact.
It is a fact. It is a fact. And you know what? Sometimes he gets Craig David's royalties, Dan.
Oh, that's amazing. Does he have to give them back?
No, he doesn't. He just buys a new kitchen,
Well, do you know that's what happens is you get older. I'm not promoting the use of drugs here, but people used to buy drugs when they were younger. And as you get older, it's like, I'm going to buy a new kitchen. Oh, I fancy a new couch. Yeah. The missus wants a new bed frame.
Well, this is called maturity.
Maturity, absolutely, yeah. I just buy guitars now.
Why not? Why not, man?
My parents might say that, or my missus might not say that's very mature. Yeah, so the Futureheads for me, the first album, you released the self-titled one, it's just a work of art, and I think loads of people have listened to the Hounds of Love, and what I love about the Futureheads is you don't have to be able to. You can play along to every different part. You don't have to be able to sing the lead vocals, but you can just hear the and it's like, and that just goes across the whole of the Futureheads. Is just the vocal harmonies. So what? And like off News and Tributes, with skip to the end. And if you can't go that, na 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 na, and it's just so. What inspired you to sort of do all those vocal harmonies within the music?
Well, you know what? You're a musician, obviously. I can see your guitars. You've got good pitch. I think those vocal renditions were relatively in key.
Thanks.
So let's just say that you're listening to it from a slightly specialist perspective of being a musician and noticing these things. But for us, it was like, well, you think of it this way, right? When you play a power chord, say a G major power chord, you're playing a 6-part harmony.
Yeah, that is true.
That's all a chord is, right? So for us, it was like when we first started out, we weren't thinking about writing like particularly harmonious harmonies, but we wanted to use our voices to give the band more dynamics. Yeah, and it was inspired by people like, obviously, the Beatles, the Stones. Yeah. The harmony is just a way of embellishing kind of arrangements. But the piece of music that really kind of changed my perception of writing music was by a minimalist composer called Steve Reich.
Right. Okay.
And he's got a piece called 6 Pianos, and it's literally 6 pianos, and each musician's playing a line, a melody, and it's creating all of these things like phasing and polyphony, and it just makes this very kind of interesting musical picture. And that was kind of what if we tried to do something along those lines, but with a punk influence, because our big influences really were new wave punk. Not we love the Pistols and the Damned and whatnot, but we love the more kind of melodic, moving towards Buzzcocks into XTC, the Jam, Devo, and kind of that kind of slightly more
Yeah.
musical, with high levels of musicality. So for us, it was like, let's make songs that are overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like and you're talking about I guess what you call hooks, like the memorable bits, and obviously having 4 singers.
Yeah, it does help.
It opens up a lot of opportunities to add more and more hooks but mainly we were just trying to make music that we found fun and also maybe challenging a little bit.
No, go on. No, that's fair enough. So fun, it comes across fun because you go back to that energy, the raw energy. I think of Cope, that really high. Broke up the time off. Broke up the time, Across the Border, Heartbeat. All those are really high energy songs, and then they're actually there's not that. I'm going to say there's not the hooky element. There's just anger and rage and it's just all really heavy strumming. And for almost, it's almost a little bit. It's just almost a little bit hard rock, and that's why I like it. I mean, I'm mainly a metal / rock guy, but
I can see your guitars. Dan.
Yeah,
you've got some. Is that Ibanez and Jacksons?
It's just 4 Ibanez, and I've got 2 more Ibanez at home, and two Gibsons and an Epiphone and a Thunderbird bass. So
nice.
Very much centered around metal and heavy riffs, but I can't play them very well. I'm mainly a singer. That's why I picked the harmonies up. But just going on to the sort of the anger, I know that I've read somewhere that after you signed your record deal with 679 Records, and then you did, and then you weren't very happy throughout the News and Tributes era, and then you sort of broke away. What was the reason of that? Because the music industry is in a little bit of a state of flux at the moment, I would say, is the polite way of putting it. Some would say it's absolutely screwed, but because is the way it is. But what was the reason? Why were you unhappy, if you don't mind me asking?
Okay, I'll give you an example, right? So when we signed to 679, but at the same time we also signed a worldwide deal with Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Okay. So 679 being a subsidiary. So we signed a global deal with Warner Brothers, and 679 agreed to release the album in the United Kingdom.
Right. Okay. Oh, okay. I didn't realize they were part of. Well, I knew they were part of Warner, but yeah.
I think it was the world minus America, and we ended up signing to a different label in America. But that's kind of by the by. So we released our first album, and we had relative success on that album, primarily because of a very vibrant indie music scene at the time.
Yeah.
In around the world, which was kickstarted really by Strokes. At the beginning of the noughties. They were the kind of zeitgeist changer.
Yeah.
They made indie cool again,
Yeah.
in the same way that maybe it's like the Smiths did in the 80s, made it like an international concern. And then what happened to us was it was amazing for us.
Yeah.
Because, we formed in the year 2000, as you mentioned, and actually at that point, there wasn't a lot of record deals kicking about, for British bands, and there was something building. This kind of noughties indie thing was building up.
Yeah.
And we were kind of in it from the beginning, type of thing, and we ended up going on this tour, this NME tour, and it was Kaiser Chiefs on first, Block Party on second.
Wow.
The Futureheads on third, and then first Kaiser Chiefs, Block Party, then us, then the Killers.
Right. Oh wow.
And it was crackers, and that really kind of, by which point it really felt like something had come together.
Definitely. Forward. Some big names there.
Then, I mean, this was before. I think the Killers had released Mr. Brightside maybe 3 or 4 times, and it had gone nowhere by that point. Like it wasn't, and maybe that tour helped it, and it certainly helped us, because suddenly we became an academy band, and we released our album, and then we released Hounds of Love.
Yeah. And
it went in the top 10, and we started essentially touring internationally going to Japan, Australia,
Yeah.
Russia, getting amazing support gigs, like supporting the Foo Fighters or Oasis or the Queens of Stone Age, and we were like kind of on this amazing journey.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like everywhere we were going, we were tremendously successful. So,
No.
we turn up. We were talking about why we became unhappy being signed to Warner's, basically. So I remember once we turned up in Japan to promote our second album, which is called News and Tributes. And the guy, the lady from the label was like very apologetic because Warner's in Japan had decided to spend the bulk of their marketing budget on an album that had been released by Paris Hilton.
Right. Oh, wow. Thanks for that.
He'd done like a DJ album and they were pumping all their money into that. So when we signed to Warner's on our first album, you cannot predict that type of thing would happen, but you suddenly realize you're not going to be the major concern in all of these parts of the world. But the reason why people sign global deals is it means you can release your album, you release your music globally, but unless you have the right team in each given country, you're going to struggle to kind of make any impacts. And not, also, I suppose, the reception of our second album was a bit of an anticlimax for us and also our label here. So we were pleased, but we didn't leave. You can't leave a record deal.
No,
you can't, but you can get dropped. So we got dropped, but we were pleased about it because we weren't happy. But no one ever gets dropped if things are going well.
No,
they're going to hold on to you. You know what I mean? So but we had a really great manager, a guy called Jazz Summers, who passed away a few years ago, but he was really good at kind of turning it round so that we were in a position of power. So we then set up our own record label, which is called Null Records, and we released our third album. It's called This Is Not the World, and what
an absolute banger of an album that is as well.
Oh, thank you.
I got the book one. I've got the book one. Yes,
very
the
good.
Book special edition.
Cool, man. Well, we were kind of full of, I guess, we didn't really fully what's the word, process what that period in our lives, but when we set up our own label and we went to Sierra Nevada in Spain to record that album with a great guy called Youth, who's in a tremendous band called Killing Joke, but he's also like a superstar producer. So we went from like being a bit kind of gutted, really, that kind of perhaps things hadn't gone terribly well, to like going and making an album in the mountains. And it had like a big hit on it for us, a song called The Beginning of the Twist, which was kind of a sustainable, genuine radio hit in the UK.
It was.
Got played a lot more than Hounds even, and obviously for us to come back after being dropped on our own label with some relative amount of success was good for our confidence,
And I'll be hasty. I agree about News and Tributes, but it's got some good songs on there, Barry. It's got some. I've said a few times, Cope, News and Tributes. But you talk about This Is Not the World. I can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel it coming. It just sticks in your head. So so those songs will live with you forever, and you must be pleased that you managed to bounce back, if you like.
Well, yeah, I think, I don't know really, it was our position with our local record label was that they just kind of let us get on with things. So there was no like A&R. There was no like, the record label. But it happens, sometimes people sign record deals and then they're like, the record label are kind of influencing the songs.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. But it never happened to us. And we just thought, because we'd spent 4 years getting to that point of releasing that first album, and we we didn't want to make, you know, the Futureheads Mark II. We wanted to do something a bit more experimental.
Yeah.
And possibly that was and we were given the freedom to do that. But had we played it a little bit safer and maybe tried to write some hits, it would have been a different story. But we were just kind of following our creative urges and instincts.
No, absolutely.
But yeah, but then, you know, I think This Is Not the World has some good songs in it, but then there's some which don't have as much substance. But that's what happens when you have many years to write your first album, and also you don't even realize you're writing your first album because you don't even know if you're going to get a record deal.
Yeah.
But then once you get into the, you know, the kind of the cycle of it, you know, you've got a few weeks, you've got a bunch of songs, you need a bunch more, so you're gonna have to write them quickly.
Yeah.
So you maybe don't have as much time to really think about the arrangements and the composition, and you're just kind of doing the session.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. No, a previous person who come on the channel said you get all your lifetime to write your first album, and then if you're signed to a record label, most of the time they want to churn out every 2 or 3 years, you know, cycle.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that we finished. I'm glad that we sort of come back onto that positive note. So from all the Futurehead albums, could you give the listeners or my watchers what you think are off each album are would you say pick one song off each album that says typifies that typifies the Futureheads?
Well, okay, I mean, first album, Man Ray. Last song on the album. Yeah, it's got 2 chords. Basically, the song has 2 chords. It's extremely influenced by new wave punk, and it's kind of very adrenaline filled. And when we wrote that one, it felt like this is cool. And also what we've always done, I think, is we always try and write songs in new key signatures and stuff like that. Yeah. And that song's in B flat, which is an unusual key for indie music. But anyway, that's just muso stuff. Second album, I'm just trying to think what's on it. I mean, there's a song on there which Cope is a good one. Cope's a good song. There's a song called Return of the Berserker.
The Return of the Berserker.
That's only got 1 chord.
Yeah.
Literally, you could say it's got more, but it's basically a drone song, a high level drone song. Yeah. High energy. And that's kind of, it's got mad production on it. Third album. Well, this Beginning of the Twist, probably, but there's a song on there, the title song, which is called This Is Not the World, which I particularly like. I
like the whole album. Broke up the time.
Well, I kind of stole the riff from a piece of organ music by Johann Sebastian Bach. If you can find that one. Fourth album, it's an a cappella album, but you know, our arrangement of Bees Wing. No, the fourth album's
the fourth album's Chaos.
Chaos, yeah, the Chaos. Yeah. The Chaos. I really love that album.
I love that album.
It's a real. There's some really good, I think, good guitar moments on there, and we tried to write our equivalent of Bohemian Rhapsody, which is a song called Jupiter.
Jupiter. Is that what that's inspired by? Right now,
well, it's one of those section songs, you know. Yeah. Dan, where you've got like an intro which doesn't necessarily link to, and it moves through. So yeah, that was our kind of. But the Chaos was kind of, I think, really getting our hands on the guitars again, and not just writing vocal based music, lyric based music, and more about let's write some slightly more challenging guitar stuff. Like there's a track on there called This Is the Life, which has got a very nifty riff, and it was nice to be doing that stuff again. And then we did an a cappella album, and there's all sorts of stuff on there that I really like, but there's no new material on there. There are some arrangements of like Meantime and what else? There's a couple of the Futurehead songs.
Man Ray's on there as well.
Man Ray, yeah.
Yeah.
We have this Rick Thompson cover called Beeswing,
Yeah.
and that I feel like we did a similar thing with that to what we did with Hounds of Love, where we kind of made it our own to some
Yeah.
degree.
No, absolutely.
And it's a very elaborate, very tricky to pull it off. And I remember we must have done about 30, because we kind of challenged ourselves to be able to do that recording in one take.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to like chop and change between takes and crossfade.
It
and
is
stuff
easy
like that.
to do that.
Like,
yeah,
you know,
we've all done it.
You wouldn't, well, of course, but on that one, like we're gonna do this in a very kind of pure. So that's just a pure 4-part harmony, one take, you know, with no overdubs or anything. And I'm very proud of that arrangement. And then when we broke up for a bit, and then we released an album, Powers. And Powers has got all sorts of interesting guitar stuff, but probably we released this tune called Jekyll, which has a very mental riff. But my personal favorite is probably a song called what's it called? Get Things to, what's it? What's it called? Yeah. It's called Animus. Animus.
Yeah, that's
and
number
it
3.
sounds like it has loads and loads of chords, like 50 different chords.
For me, I'm gonna go Decent Days and Nights, Cope. Broke up the time.
Okay.
Off Ran, I'm not sure. I'd probably just go with Man Ray because it's a banger. And then for me, Across the Border.
It's great.
Great
Across
song.
the Border is like
angry.
Ross Millard kind of almost building up to rapping on that one.
Yes. He was rapping, actually. Ross is definitely rapping on that. It's there's definitely, I'd love to know what the story behind that, because it sounds very Brexity.
Yeah, man.
I know I've said that to you. It sounds it, but
no, it is. It's about that. It's about the you might say the decline of what is Britain.
Yes.
You know, the decline. You know, with Brexit. You know, that we've been through some awful things recently, like Brexit, Trump, Boris Johnson.
Yeah, Boris Johnson's never gone away either. That's the worst thing.
Like, oh my God, you know, the thing that really kind of breaks my heart about Brexit is that I just want to know why people who voted to leave, right, thought that the people who were going to be administering it were going to do a good job. What was it in their resume? What was it in their careers that made people trust that what they were promised was going to be given to them? Because there's no way, there's no evidence, previous evidence to suggest that it wasn't going to be anything other than a complete and utter shambles, and it was. So, you know, people voted for something thinking they were going to get it, and it was never going to happen. And that's the thing that depresses me, because that was a kind of our culture was just split in half, leavers and remainers, and you know, and now we're just living in this strange society where no one wants to own up.
It was a mistake.
Like, you know, social media became a real kind of awful place leading up to Brexit, right? And then it was like, oh, you know, it's ironic to me because there's all of these Brexiteers, these leavers, they've gone very quiet. You know, and I'm grateful that you know, that they don't spend every day just ramming all of the positive benefits of Brexit down me throat.
Well, there hasn't been a single one.
Well, exactly, right? So they've been completely mugged. Completely mugged.
Yeah.
And that's tragic to me. To break the country up in that way for no good reason was just complete and utter insanity. And but Ross wrote that song, and it's fun to play live. because it's very manic. And what I use a micro looper. Have you got one of them? A loop pedal?
I used to have one, and then I got rid of it because I'm not very good with it. So
Well, I think looping is one of those things where if you try and do it properly, it's really hard.
yeah,
but
absolutely.
if you,
Ed
if
Sheeran's
you
going down to a
use
T.
oh, God, I mean, he's a stadium looper.
I know. I don't understand how you can do stadium looping. You know, I'm
Well,
barely getting past the pub.
I wish I knew, mate. But anyway, what I use at the beginning of that is I make a minute loop where I put all my distortion on and go and loop that and make this kind of like siren noise loop.
Yeah,
And add
I
to
know.
it.
Yeah, I
And
know
then
where
you
you're coming
turn
from.
it in and off. It bring it in and out, and it's kind of fun because you're making a lot of noise,
Yes.
and you're kind of not doing anything, you know, and then shutting it off for the choruses, and yeah, it's fun.
There's no better feeling
you know
than
what-
making noise sometimes.
I agree, but you know, like I'm 40-year-old now, you know, and I'm kind of I find it hard to be that angry,
Yeah.
you know, like that energy, that youthful energy that basically was what the band
Yeah.
used to make its impact. We have to kind of turn it on
Yeah.
now, and whereas we would basically just it all the time, and that's just one of the aspects of kind of, you know, growing up and all of that. But
Yeah.
for us, the challenge is to try and make some new music that kind of fits us with
Yeah.
where we're at in our lives now.
No, absolutely. No, and that's the funny thing, because people say, "Oh, you know, they've changed that." But one of my favorite band, another favorite band, is Muse, and I know they're massive.
Oh, yeah.
But Muse are still
Yeah,
not
yeah.
writing the same stuff off Hysteria that they were writing 20 years ago. But their newest song, "Won't Stand Down," and "Compliance," big sort of, again, political vibes. But the "Won't Stand Down" riff is just, it's heavy and it's angry and it's bad. It's old
Well,
school, but
Yeah, Muse is like we supported Muse once.
yeah, I know.
Well, Rod, that was the Teenage Cancer Trust gig, right? And organised by Roger Daltrey, and that was cool to meet him actually, because I'm quite fond of the Who, especially this album called The Who Sell Out, which is like a concept album based around their writing jingles for a radio station, and it's got like, you know, a song about Heinz baked beans and deodorant and like guitar strings. But anyway, we got offered that gig, and it was amazing actually turning up to the Royal Albert Hall to play, and like having your dinner, and there's Roger Daltrey with his family, and, you know, like eating a pork chop or something like that. But Muse, I was really kind of impressed with them because, firstly, you know, that guy, Matt Bellamy.
Yeah.
My God, he's obviously a virtuoso piano player, yeah. And I walked past his room where he was practicing his piano, and it's like I was like, you know, astonished by how this guy can play. He was playing something by Rachmaninoff, I think, and then the way they have their setup, because it's hyper tech. He's got this, you know, custom guitar with a computer in it, but their amps aren't even on stage.
No.
Their amps are in the corridor in like soundproof booths, so they're getting the pure sound, and they're just operating on a level of attention to detail that for a bunch of like scabby Macam boys like us, who basically we just got a couple of effects pedals and you know, a couple of amps, it was like, wow, this is like futuristic. You know?
It is. They are a futuristic band.
Yeah, amazing. But you know, like neoclassical rock music. That's what they. But you know, because he has this kind of background in romantic classical era, understanding the harmony and all of that. Really, you know, if you take a few of those ideas and put them on electric guitar, and put them on a drum beat, you've basically got Muse. You know, that's the template. This kind of beautiful, kind of exotic, melodic minor. You know, I admire them. You know, they've really kind of created their own world, and that's what bands are supposed to do. Their own world.
And they've changed a few times. If you think about the start showbiz, they were compared to, quote, a poor man's Radiohead. Whoever said that now is not laughing. Then you've got Hysteria, which is angry. You've got Origins of Symmetry. Then you've got these big 8 bars blues sounds type songs with like Madness,
Yeah.
And then you've got the electronic vibe of one of the newer albums, Simulation Theory. And then it sounds like they're going back again to sort of their earlier stuff. But Compliance is very much off, like Uprising and the Second Law type sound. And then they did Drones. So every single album, they've not released, again, they're another band that's not really released a bad album. You might not like what they did, but when you listen to it musically, some of it's fantastic. And musically, they're all super talented. Definitely super talented. So, talking about music and talent, and you said that you've got the Peacock pub, which you're in. So for the podcasters, Barry is sat in his music venue called the Peacock, which is in Sunderland, and you said you teach students on a Wednesday, and today is Wednesday, by the way. So tell me a bit about that.
So when the band split up in 2013, I wanted a change of career, so I became a chef, and I worked in a professional kitchen,
right,
as a pastry chef and a deli chef.
Okay. Wow.
So I was making, quiches.
Yum.
Yum. Yeah, so really good sausage rolls, like proper gourmet sausage rolls, Scotch eggs, pie. I'm doing like a delivery roast dinner, and so I was roasting 500 potatoes, making 250 Yorkshire puddings.
I'm
doing
hungry.
the belly pork, and it was it was really good. I enjoyed it, but it was very poorly paid, and so I started doing a bit of private tuition, on the side, so I could earn in an hour teaching someone piano or guitar or songwriting or vocals. What I was earning in a day is in the kitchen. So it kind of naturally went in the direction that I looked for more work as a teacher, and then I got offered a job in a college, it was actually performing arts level 3, a BTEC diploma. So I went down there and I started teaching singing, and a bit of instrumental, and then I got offered another job in a primary school. So I was kind of working in a college and a primary school, and then another college offered me a job, and then they offered me the chance to do a degree. So meanwhile, I'm kind of doing a bit of teaching. Then I became a student and did a BA. I did the last year of the BA and got a BA. And then I was able to start teaching in a university.
Right, okay.
So I started lecturing, and then I did my master's degree. And then I was able to teach across an entire degree course, at which point my boss asked me if I wanted to set up a music school. And to be honest, Dan, I wasn't that bothered to do that. I just thought, well, I'm kind of quite enjoying being a teacher, but let's look into it. So
like you do.
This was 5.5 years ago, right? And we started speaking to Sunderland University about working with them. So that where we are, my business is called the Northern Academy of Music Education. Or short name, NA, right? So we eventually brokered a deal with the university so that we have a degree course that we've written. And it's called Modern Music Industries. And our students come and we teach them our degree. And then at the end of the course, they will graduate with Sunderland University degrees. Okay. So one of the big tasks was finding somewhere to teach. So for the first few years, we were looking at a place called North Shore, which was formerly a nightclub. So we were gearing up to go in to sign a long-term lease on a nightclub, do it out as a music school. Obviously, it would work because the big stage, loads of areas where you could build studios. And then, eventually, it couldn't happen there. So we got offered this building, which is a 3-story, well, 4 if you include the cellar. It's a massive Edwardian public house.
Oh, wow.
That was built in 1901. It has 3 floors. Each floor is approximately 100 meters squared. So downstairs we have a 220.
Yeah.
It's a canny big pub.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're sitting in what's called a snug.
Oh, okay.
Which is
Oh,
kind
lovely.
of a nice.
Oh, yeah.
And then, excuse a bit of mess. We're on a closed day today, but this is the long bar. It's
Everyone,
massive.
the podcasters, he showed me a bar. So for those that have got no vision, they're only audio listening, he's just showed me around at this point.
All right.
No, it's fine, mate. I've started putting it out on podcast because people were complaining they wanted audio, but that's fine. Give us a guided tour. Keep going. There's a pool table.
So, yeah, it's our lounge.
Lovely.
There's our little kitchen. And, this is like a 220 capacity drinking place and a restaurant that we run.
Oh, yum.
And then upstairs, we've got a 220 capacity music venue.
Yeah.
Which is very popular with the local kind of grassroots music. And also, we do a lot of private parties up there, birthdays, engagements, things like that. And then the top floor, we invested a lot of time and money into converting it into 3 recording studios. Okay. So the top floor was originally used as an apartment, a big apartment, and now we've got students making racket up there, and we also hire. We have a lease on another space which is more kind of like plush, like academic lecture room.
Right.
So the fact that the band is basically a part-time thing now. Yeah. It has to be that way, not just because of me, because all the lads have got their own kind of things going on, and we're lucky. I think we've got about 12 UK festivals in the diary this summer.
That must be great that you can still go off and be a musician, but also go back to a nice, stable day-to-day, go home, see the kids, see the partner, see your wife,
Oh, of course, yeah. I don't like particularly being away. And the idea of saying like traveling internationally does not appeal at all. I mean, even just getting out of the Northeast, I don't like it too much. I've got 3 kids. I've got 3 young children, and my partner Cindy is my business partner with the pub business. So we do have a lot of responsibilities in that. Yeah. But to have a nice rehearsal room to go and mess about with the Futureheads, and when we have gigs, get together for a couple of hours to rehearse and then get in the back of a van and go and play and get sweaty and then maybe have a nice meal, stay in a hotel. It's kind of like it feels like quite a luxurious, slightly surreal, and at times slightly stressful thing because, when you're not doing music full time, it's difficult, confidence comes from familiarity. Yeah. We don't really get to be terribly familiar with being in the band. It's an occasional thing. So, like being the front man in the Futureheads, I could do it, obviously. I've done it over 1,000 times, but to feel like you're fully prepared and fully confident, it takes about 3 or 4 gigs in a row. And we never do more than 2 or 3 gigs in a row. So we might do that 3rd gig, get really tight, like terrifyingly tight. And then it's like, okay, I'll see you in 3 weeks. And it fades away. So, it is what it is. It is what it is.
No, do you know, it's great to hear that, Barry, because it's different. No, it is. And it's amazing that you are still feeling that thing that when I started my band, and sadly COVID killed my band, I only played 3 gigs and then that was the end of that. But I'm very proud of what 4 divided by 2, which was my one band, did. We released an EP. We've still got an album written there that probably will never get released. I don't know. I'll have to speak to Will, the drummer. And I've got about, like I said, about 30 songs written on my computer, and just they don't seem to be going anywhere because of Izzy Sampit TV. So maybe I'll have to maybe you've inspired me there to maybe just get them back together again and start writing something. But it's great that you're supporting the local
Yeah, man.
industry. That's really good. And you know, you must still love the Futureheads to keep
Yeah.
her going. You know, the machine.
Well,
I call her.
Yeah, we do. It does feel like a bit of a privilege, really. But I am quite frustrated because you know what it takes to write and record an album.
I
It's
do.
a massive amount of time, and I don't think we're ever going to have enough time to make another album. I just can't envisage it.
Right.
Maybe do like. But the thing is, though, these days, Dan, do you really need to do albums? Do you actually need to do an album?
This is a good
Is
thing.
it not just about Spotify? Adding is the album basically a dead format now? Do we have to bother? Do we just write a song, release it?
Yeah, just write a song. Start with one.
I've got loads of songs.
Yeah, but that's it, and that's what I keep saying to myself. Should I just write one song and write one banger, and maybe it'll get on TV
And release it.
Yeah, just release it and let it upon the world. So, no, yeah, no, absolutely. I don't
earlier
know.
on, you were saying like, the music industry's in a bit of a strange position.
It is in a strange place, yeah.
But do you know what's happened really is that all sorts of technological things have happened that have really drastically affected the music business. For example, the traditional purpose of a record label, right, was to essentially issue a loan of capital so that a band could afford to go into a recording studio and make an album.
Yeah.
In exchange for that, the record label would own the master recordings for X amount of time, and then set up a business deal whereby there was a profit share. Right?
Yeah.
Because of the advent of music technology, music software, essentially of course, if you're going to go to Abbey Road, right, you're going to make a better sounding record probably than you would in your bedroom. But the difference now between what an amateur, in inverted commas, can do and a pro is very slim.
It is
because a small investment and a few decent plugins, and of course you need some okay mics and sort of recording space, but record labels are less valuable now. And also because social media social media and internet shopping has basically replaced the real world.
It has. DIY, everything's DIY,
Yes.
It can be
the music business kind of doesn't exist anymore, but everyone's got their own cottage industry around their own interests.
Yeah.
But what that also means is there's no way for all of those things to link up. Yeah. Like through Top of the Pops or the chart show.
Yeah, or MTV. Yeah.
So that kind of those pop cultural aspects are really what would kind of gear national and international movements in music. So, and those are the things that actually are intriguing enough to make the big festivals happen and to make, you know what I mean? Like, so we're in this position where actually people are probably consuming more music than ever, but that music is generating less and less money.
Well,
so the purpose, making a living as a musician is getting harder and harder.
It is absolutely. And that's where the 360 deals. Yeah, that's where these 360 deals down, the 180 deals are coming in. And, I was watching another podcast the other day, and someone was talking about that they said, well, we'll do a 360 deal and we get $5 for every $25 of ticket you sell, and then we'll give you back so much. And it's like, and they were like, nah, fuck off. I'll do it myself. Off your pop.
Yeah.
I'd much, and they were happier just making their own music and playing it to say 3,000 at the Academy than going to say the MEN Arena. We'll just say, we use those as an example, and playing in front of 8,000 where they only made 50% back of it. And it's something will change. Something will change. And I don't know what. I don't know what will change, but at some point it might go around full circle again.
I think what I want to see is a kind of another guitar scene.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Since the 50s, the first guitar scene was rock and roll, right?
Yeah,
And then you got your kind of like psychedelic acid rock,
yeah,
and then prog, and then punk,
yeah,
and then indie,
yeah,
and grunge and Britpop, and then I do think there was a guitar thing in the first decade of this century, but there
yeah.
wasn't one in the last decade, and we're now going in towards the middle of the 20s, and we're really overdue one. And I blame what we're talking about, this kind of lack of joining the dots between the bands, and everyone's just basically got their own video channels and their own radio stations in their pockets, and there's no national consciousness about what is happening, just individuals. So what's going to change that? I don't know.
Exactly. And if you go through what I would consider the top 40 now, or the top 100, how many of them are rock songs? I mean, I think I read in the something like Bohemian Rhapsody is still in like at 32 or something in the single charts. It's like, how have we not managed? I mean, Bohemian Rhapsody is an absolute classic, but how have we not? How for someone not? I know it's hard. I don't exactly.
We tried with Jupiter. It didn't work. No, but listen, it's because it's obviously
Bring
because
back
of
Jupiter. Well,
it's because of streaming, right? So the charts are based on streaming.
Yeah,
because no one plays
absolutely.
singles anymore.
Yeah.
So a song released in the 70s is being streamed more right now than a song released yesterday.
Yeah.
And and that's just because Bohemian Rhapsody is amazing, but it makes a mockery of new release.
Yeah. Well,
It's like
the
the Christmas
algorithm,
song
it gets
thing.
lost in the algorithm. You're absolutely right. It just gets lost in the algorithm, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. So there's no, it's changed. It's completely changed.
Yeah.
What is HMV now? HMV, it's not about new releases. It's about computer games, t-shirts, albums, yes.
Yeah.
But it's totally different now.
Yeah. The game has
okay.
changed. Yeah.
I don't mind it, I don't mind kind of getting on with it. And like, but what we need to make things better though.
Yeah, we need to think of something. I just touching on that before I move on to my final section. Just touching on. Do you remember Rockstar off Nickelback? Now that when I read that was originally is it A Long Way Home or something? The album, it was released like 4 years before it went massive, and then the record label Nickelback was stalling on the album, I think, and then they re-released the album and they released Rockstar instead of Photograph as the single, and Rockstar just went woomph.
Yeah.
And everyone loved it.
Yeah.
And that's amazing that can happen. And the vehicle was the vehicle behind it. So
what was the vehicle behind it though?
Well,
TikTok.
they were just pushing.
TikTok, wasn't it?
Pardon?
It was before, yeah.
Yeah, it was before TikTok. I don't know what the actual vehicle behind it was, but I think the record label pushed the same album out and they wanted to promote it. So
yeah,
yeah.
Well, people have very short memories.
Yeah, me too.
We actually did that with the first album. We released it, and and then we built up a bit more of a head of steam and reissued it.
Yeah,
with a few different, like some remixes on it, and and Hounds of Love on it.
Yeah, and Decent Days and Nights has like a longer version. Yeah.
You what?
Decent Days and Nights has two versions. It has the one that comes in straight with the "This is a brand new problem," and then you've got the other one where it goes dun 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 dun, and you've got that played about 8 bars of it. So
yeah, that's what's called a radio edit.
Yeah,
and that's it is. It's like that's what I'm talking about. Like one of the difficult things about being in the music industry at that level, is that once you get a taste of like being played on the radio, it's very easy for a record label or even a radio plugger to say, look, if you put an intro at the beginning of this recording, you're more likely to get played on the radio because it means the DJ can talk over it.
Yeah.
So that can kind of play. So suddenly you're starting to basically kneel down to the industry.
Yeah.
And compromise.
Compromise. Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's only a radio edit, and then the next thing you know, who knows where that can end up? You know, you can end up like being dressed up as bloody Mickey Mouse. You know.
Yeah. No. Or the Colonel out of KFC. So.
You know, like
No.
they work you down. They work you down. You know.
Yeah.
They break
No.
you down.
Yeah. Well, I've never had an experience of been working with a record label, so I'm in some way. I wish I'd had the chance of being manipulated just so I could have played to a bigger crowd. But
and then there's that, you know, like okay, like you signed to a corporation. What do you expect? You know, like just crack on with it. But
yeah,
you know, it is
absolutely,
what it is.
mate. Right, I've come to the fun question section, Barry.
Oh gosh, here we go.
Very serious questions, these, you know. These are important. No. And being a northerner, I expect you to answer this one correctly.
Well, I'm a very serious man.
Okay, I gathered that. So, you've got a portion of chips from the chippy. What are you having on it? Gravy or curry?
What time of day is it?
It's Friday night tea, Friday night dinner.
I think I'd prefer. I'd always go for curry.
Yeah.
But I like batter on it.
Oh.
Or
yeah.
you probably call it scraps.
Yeah, scraps. I call it scraps.
Yeah,
wow, so you're putting scraps in it. Oh, okay.
Always.
Always.
I'll tell you what we used to do when we were kids, right? On a lunchtime, we used to go to the local chippy and get what's called a curry batter bun, which is a bun,
right?
Or a roll.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll take
full of curry, dipped in batter and then deep fried.
Yes, I've got to try this. Is this a Northeast thing?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Or something it would be like literally scraps in a sandwich.
Just I've had that before.
A curry sauce on it. Just depending on where you went.
Oh,
very basic. They were like 5 pence.
Who cares? Half rice, half chips, curry sauce. And I always used to ask the woman to put like the scraps on top. Oh. Yum.
What? A Chinese place, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, for dessert, are you having sticky toffee pudding or apple crumble?
Sticky toffee pudding.
Oh, nice. I try and make them. You've really just gone straight down the middle with these. You've not even hesitated.
Well, I think, apple crumble, I really like it.
I love apple crumble.
I like making it, but sticky toffee pudding, especially with some ice cream.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
one of my favourite places to eat in, just down the road, is a chef called Pete Zulu. And he's got a pub with a nice restaurant in it, called The Grey Horse. And they do a sticky toffee pudding with Jack Daniel's ice cream.
Being sold.
It's fantastic. It's really fantastic. Like, I think it might even be Jack Daniel's and white chocolate ice cream with the sticky toffee pudding.
That sounds amazing. Yeah. Right.
Very rich.
So I can come to the Northeast got my lunch, I've got my tea sorted, got everything sorted here at this rate. So the next question is, who's the most famous person in your phone book?
Oh, my phone book. Well, not many famous people in my phone book, but I am friends with one of the most successful music producers on earth, who's a guy called Paul Epworth.
Oh, wow. That's
he produced Hounds of Love. He produced Hounds of Love, and I've been friends with him ever since.
Oh, nice.
I speak to him now and then, and he's a really amazingly talented, brilliant guy.
Yeah.
But the most famous person I've ever met is someone called Queen Elizabeth II.
Oh, you met the Queen?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
And Prince Philip.
Oh, what was that doing? Or how did that come about?
That was when I mentioned this youth project that we met at. The project won the Duke of Edinburgh Award.
Oh, congratulations. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we went to, it was because every city, as you know, has twin towns.
Yeah.
Or twin cities. And one of ours is in Sunderland, German city called Essen.
Yes.
And we would then do a lot of music exchange stuff with Essen. And that kind of post-war, those efforts were kind of, we ended up winning this award, and we got taken to Berlin to meet the Queen at the British Embassy,
That's amazing.
and we met her,
Oh,
and
that's brilliant.
yeah, it was mad, but also, you know, met like Dennis Hopper. That was good.
That was
You
good.
know,
Guys,
when we
you're
went
reeling off
on.
some names here.
Well, you know, we've been on like the Foo Fighters private jet. You know what I mean? Like Eddie Vedder, like we supported Pearl Jam, and Eddie Vedder would be like knocking on our dressing room door to come and hang out. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, there you go. So you weren't hanging out with Eddie Vedder was hanging out with you, Barry.
no, but literally, the guy was so honestly, he's like the nicest famous person I've ever met. He's even nicer than Dave Grohl. You know, like Eddie Vedder. My God, such a lovely, cool guy. You know,
That's amazing. And these are memories that are going to stay with you forever. That's the thing. That's the beauty of it all. Final question.
Okay.
It's, if you could own any zoo animal, what would you own? My answer to this one's penguin. I just want a penguin waddling around the house.
Good idea. Someone made a film about that. I don't recommend it.
I mean, obviously.
Zoo animal. Okay, I mean, I suppose the question is, can it kill you?
I mean, you know, this is all hypothetical and designed that.
Well, I know you're not. I know you're not.
I'm not going to sponsor this and go, oh, send you a tiger, Barry. Thanks for coming on my TV show. Here's a tiger.
What about a fruit bat?
Fruit bat sounds cool.
Yeah, I could have a fruit bat.
A fruit bat. Yeah. Fair enough. Oh, that's an interesting choice. A fruit bat. Okay. And
Have you ever been to a zoo?
yeah, I've been to Chester Zoo like 20 times. I've been to Edinburgh Zoo. And I saw
the rhinoceros.
I didn't see the rhino. We saw the
the polar bear.
No, not the polar bear. The other what did we see? I think it was the gorilla. Was it a gorilla?
I've seen a gorilla. I tell you what though, the reason why I mention it is we actually played a gig near Edinburgh Zoo and we stayed in the hotel basically on the band I'm talking about.
Panda. It was a panda.
Yeah. I walked into this room. I'm in a room. It was more like a kind of outhouse, you know.
Yeah.
And there was a rhinoceros in there, right? A full-size rhinoceros. And you've got no idea how big they are.
Oh.
And in between me and this rhinoceros was, you know, a reinforced fence. And I thought, if that rhino wants me,
it's having you.
It's got me, because this thing was the size of a people carrier.
Yeah. Wow.
It was gigantic. And it stank.
Sounds like me in the morning. And the final question is, Barry, tell me a funny story from a tour. I love the funny stories.
I'm going to have to give us a moment to kind of see if I can unlock the hazy...
the archives.
Yeah, the archives. I need to kind of break through the amnesia. Lots of funny things, you know. I just don't want to embarrass anyone, you know. I've got funny stories about other people.
Come on, we won't name. Maybe no. So what about your brother? You get a bit of brotherly love.
I'll
You
tell
won't
you a funny
mind.
story.
Go on.
We were on tour once and we're staying in London, right? And it was kind of in the early days of mobile phones, you know.
Yeah.
And
Nokia 3310.
You are?
Nokia 3310 with a snake.
My phone was knackered, right?
Yeah.
And I just, you know, I was in a relationship, someone who I eventually married, but it was the early days of the relationship, and I had to like sort my phone out because I was really missing this person, and you know, so I went down to the O2 shop,
right,
and I'm standing in the O2 shop, and the phone kept on ringing, you know, and the person was like, there was a massive issue, O2, when the satellites was down, right?
Right.
So I'm in there, right? And I'm waiting for hours, right? Hours and hours to get
Yeah.
seen. And people were coming in and going, what's wrong with my phone? And the person who worked in the O2 shop was going, I'm really sorry, but the satellite's down, you know?
Yeah.
And it's happening over and over again. And then the person who was working in the shop went out into the back, right? And then another person came in and said to me,
Yeah.
what's going on with, why is my phone not working? I said, I'm really sorry, but the satellite's down.
Right.
This person starts talking to me like I work there. And then another person comes in. And before I know it, I'm standing there at work, right? All I want is for my phone. But I didn't have like the kind of the guts to say, look, I don't actually work here, you know? So then the person came back out from the back room and just like, what the fuck's going on here? You know, like, you don't work here. And the people looked at us like I was some kind of lunatic. You know what I mean? It was, that was just, I mean, that's not necessarily a tour story, but it springs to mind as a funny story.
It's still funny because it's funny because I've had the same. There's nothing more embarrassing than walking into a shop, seeing someone wear something that's very similar to the shop you're in. Excuse me, can you tell me where? Yeah. I don't work. And they always go, I don't work here. And one day I was in Asda and someone said, excuse me, do you know where the milk is? And I went, it's just at the back there, love. And she went, oh, you don't work here? I went, yeah, but I've been in that many times. I know where the milk is. You know, it's like, I'm not going to keep this from you. You know, it's not like secret information. It's the freaking milk, you know. And it's quite funny, that. That's good.
It's nice to be nice. It's nice to be nice.
It's nice to be nice. Absolutely. Barry, well, on that, it's been nice to be nice. Thank you very much for coming on Izzy Sandpit TV, mate. Just before we very much round it up, tell the listeners and the watchers about the festivals this year. Can you name a couple?
You know, like, I can't really think of any, to be honest with you, but there's about 12 of them.
Hold on a second.
All on the website.
I've got your page up.
There's a bunch of
I've got Lee's Live in Newcastle upon Tyne.
Yeah.
They're playing the Fire Station in Sunderland on June the 11th. They're playing Birdwell Venue in Barnsley on the 29th of June. And in August, they've got Our East Festival, which is in Dalkeith Country Park in Dalkeith. I have no idea where that is. Where is that? So there you go. That's 4 that's on Spotify.
Yeah. And there's a bunch that haven't been announced yet. But, you know, as I say, I don't know. I mean, we just know that we'll get together to rehearse just before the gigs.
Yeah.
And then we'll just kind of do them, you know, but I don't really think about them.
No.
Until I have to, you know.
Yeah.
Because it's just so many things to do otherwise with everything else, you know.
Fair enough. Well, mate, thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate you slotting it in at very short notice to come in and have a chat with me. Good luck with the Peacock. Keep supporting those those local bands. Good luck with the teaching, and good luck with the Futureheads.
Thank you very much.
Next time you think about not doing an album, just think of me sat there with powers going, will this be the last one? Is this it? Am I never going to see the Futureheads again? No.
Well, you know,
I'm joking, mate. I'm joking. No, absolutely. It's better to write it when you want to, because I'm sure it'll be a cracker as well.
Well, thank you very much. You're very kind.
Thank you very much. All the best, mate.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.